So I think it's about time we had a chat about the stock market. Over the past few months, the stock market has continued to make new all-time highs, and over the last couple of days, it's been a bit of a bumpy ride for certain sectors. We've had people like Yellen scaring the absolute pants out of the market. We've had the tech sell-off. We've even had a crypto sell-off. We've got a whole new group of investors. They call themselves the apes and they live on Reddit. We've also got massive worries in terms of interest rates and inflation. But the market still continues to grind its way upwards, and markets seem to be strong. Joe Biden also revealed that he wants to do a $6 trillion infrastructure plan, which should, in theory, boost the US economy. But I'm not so convinced, and I think it's time people start being a little bit cautious and planning for the incoming correction and crash, which I guarantee you will happen at some point. In this video, I'm going to give you my current market thoughts and what I am actually doing to prepare myself when this correction and crash does come, and also with a little bit of a prediction when I think it might happen. Now, if you are a regular returner to the channel, you know the drill by now. This is not financial advice. You should do your own due diligence before you come to making any investment decision. Now, if you do like videos like this, please make sure that like button is turned blue. It massively helps me out with the YouTube algorithm and, of course, helps this video reach a larger audience. So please do me the kind favor, make sure that like button is turned blue before we progress into the video. Yes, I'm looking at you. I can see you still haven't hit that like button. Come on, help the team out here. So thanks very much, guys, girls, and everything else on the spectrum. Let's have a little look into my thoughts on the next market crash. Now, one thing is a billion, trillion, infinity % sure: a correction or a market crash will happen next week. Now, of course, I'm joking. It's not going to happen next week, but it will happen at some point in the future. But we do know markets go through a cycle period. Now, over the last year with the whole Miley Cyrus, we've seen stocks take a massive dip. And in terms of the stock market, this percentage drop would be classed as a recession in any normal situation. But then we had a V-shaped recovery and stocks rallied very quickly and actually reached new all-time highs, and they continued to grind upwards. The downside of this is the fundamental detachment to the hype around stocks, I think, is really getting bigger as time goes on. And if you need an example of that, have a look at AMC. AMC's been going absolutely nuts lately, and they are carrying more debt as time goes on, and they need to raise capital, but they have this crazy market valuation. At the recording of this video, it's like 10, 15, I don't even know, 20 billion. Who knows, the stock is that volatile, but AMC as a company cannot justify this as a business. And I know there's some apes there going, ooh, it's not about the fundamentals, but simply put, that's my point. There is a massive detachment between the hype in the market, the new retail investors, and the fundamentals of majority of stocks. So when the realization of this aspect comes into the market, the fundamentals and the stock prices should meet, and that should mean a decent downside move in terms of the whole stock market. There's a massive dislodge, and I don't mean on every single stock, of course, but on the majority of stocks, they're really overvalued. I mean, even a stock that I actually like, Virgin Galactic stock, a stock that I've got a very good entry on, so I don't think you should buy it at this price in full disclosure, but that's your decision, not financial advice, don't sue me. But this stock is really dislodged in terms of market cap. The stock itself is a crazy valuation for a company that wants to do space tourism and literally hasn't put any customers in space. So therefore, it can't really turn over a profit, and it is crazily overvalued in the short term. In the long term, that might be a different scenario, and that is just one example. We can go through a massive list of companies: Tesla, well, pretty much all the EV stocks, even some of the tech stocks. In fact, most of the tech stocks are really overvalued in terms of revenue, cash flows, and of course their valuation. In my opinion, there is a huge dislodge there, and it will correct at some point. And if you want to know when I think that will happen, I'll tell you later in the video. So let's just accept that a correction and a crash will come at some point. What should you do? Well, the way I see it is you need a plan, and there's three real scenarios there. One is you realize the crash and correction is here, and you sell at the bottom, and you will probably lose money because you're trying to time the market. But a pro there would be is you wouldn't be sat in that much pain. You can take your cash out and just wait for the markets to sort of bottom out and then rebuy back in. It's not a strategy I really like, but I know a lot of people who tend to go this way. The second thing you could sort of plan is hold and hope. stocks do recover eventually, provided you're in a good company and you're not YOLOing AMC at $50. But over the long term, in generic terms, the stock market will rally back to the upside. We don't know how long it will take. We don't know if it'll be 6 months or 6 years. But one thing's for sure, in a broader sense, the market will recover. And if you're not getting the point by now, I am not talking about any individual stock. I'm talking about the market itself. And the third option, the most expensive option, but in my opinion, probably the best, is buy more. You should have a list of high conviction plays, and as the market starts falling, you should be able to pick up some of these plays at a decent discount. And this is something that I've been preaching for a long time on the channel. You should continuously scale in slowly to every position into big dips. Don't YOLO in at the first sight of a stock you fall in love with. Take your time and size in slowly. And a correction scenario or even a crash scenario would give you that great entry point of lowering your average and increasing your share size into any company you actually want to invest in for the long haul. The downside of this is you're going to have to sell your house and probably take up some side hustle, because the majority of people, unfortunately, will not have cash sat around waiting for this opportunity. And this again is something I've been talking about for a long time. I always try and have at least 10 to 20% in cash or something that is quite liquid and steady away. For example, I've been buying into gold for a long time now, and when the markets do crash, gold might stay steady, it might actually rally, who actually knows, but I will sell that gold and buy into equities in a crash scenario. So let's say I'm really good at timing the market and a stock market crash is gonna happen tomorrow, and I know this for an absolute fact. What is my plan and what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to run through my portfolio and look at my best performing stocks that I have the highest conviction on, companies like Apple, Lockheed Martin, companies that pay strong dividends. I'm going to sell them all, and I'm going to buy AMC with as much leverage. I can't. I'm completely joking. Of course, I am not going to buy AMC with leverage or at all, in fact. But before I go directly into my plan, if you're looking for a broker, check out eTORO on the pinned comment. If you sign up via that link, deposit and make a trade, you get access to the eTORO LWT chat room. You can come in there, message me directly, and I do give my current market thoughts pretty much on a daily basis. So sign up on that link, come in, say hello, and let's have a little chat over a nice glass of whiskey, coffee, or whatever your preference is. Now, my plan in a market crash, what exactly would happen if the market did crash tomorrow? Well, it's something I've been going on for a long time on the channel. I have been moving into consumer staple stocks, companies that pay me a good dividend and a relatively good value. Will these stocks continue falling in a market crash? Absolutely, they will still come down. Let's have a little look at Walmart, for example. I'm green on Walmart currently, it pays me a dividend, but in a world crash scenario or a correction scenario, I expect Walmart to fall pretty much the same amount as everybody else. But people still need food, so as quarters come by and earnings reports come out, people will realize, hang on, people are still buying food and Walmart's doing very well. And as an example of that, look at the Miley Cyrus. There was loads of pictures of people running around buying bog roll, soap, hand sanitizer, and they're all going into retail shops and getting as much as they can. And the supermarkets were just laughing, thinking, how many times do you go to the toilet in a day? Now, of course, that is dependent whether you pick the Madras or the Vindaloo in terms of an Indian curry. But the reality is the supermarkets know that the meat's going to expire and you're going to come back anyway. A majority of food retail chains made absolute bank over the last couple of years, and people realize this quickly and their stocks rally to the upside. So I do think e-commerce, retail, stuff like that is probably where I'd start moving my assets to. And I have been slowly looking at coming out of tech, because I do think tech is overvalued. And the plan really would be to slowly scale out of the stocks that I don't have high conviction in. And that doesn't mean Apple. I'm talking about my more speculative tech plays, and then slowly buy in that correction scenario into companies like Walmart, like Lockheed Martin, because that's a company I really do like long term, but also into e-commerce companies. Amazon could be an example there, but I think Amazon is too linked to tech. But there's definitely lots of food and retail companies, consumer staples, utilities. These companies tend to be the first ones to sort of recover in that correction scenario. So when will the market actually crash? But before I get into that, if you want to support the channel, check out Patreon down in the description. We've even got some spaces just opened up in the WhatsApp group. In there, I tell you my buys and sells and thoughts and thesis as it happens. Go and check it out. It is a limited space available because I don't want my phone going off at 2 a.m. with a booty call from Stephen Johnson. So when will the market crash and what's my thoughts and thesis? In full transparency, I don't think the market will crash this year. I think we might have a little correction, 10, maybe 15% at some point. But the fact that they are pumping or trying to pump in a 6 trillion infrastructure plan, I just can't see it happening in the short term. But that said, a crash will come, a correction will come. So just make sure you are ready when it does come. The way I am planning for it, like I said, is have cash lying around or assets you know you're going to sell in this scenario, and then look to buy some great opportunities into some great companies at good value. Now, if you did say, look, LWT, give me a date when it will crash, or at least a month, I'd probably be looking at first, second quarter next year. If we don't have a correction in the meantime, the longer it goes on without a correction, I think the crash will be more likely. But right now, everything is fine and dandy. Interest rates are very low, so companies and people can borrow as much money as possible. But again, as interest rates stay low and they keep printing money and throwing money at the economy, that bubble will burst soon. And that is just a matter of time. It could be next year, it could be next week, it could be in 5 years. But the bigger this bubble gets, the louder the noise will be. So just make sure you're very safe out there. Make sure you have a plan. Write down a list of stocks you're willing to sell at any point in the future, and also a list of stocks that you're looking at buying. I genuinely do have these two lists on an Excel, and they're continuously changing with the market as it moves. But it is a good mindset getting used to the idea of selling some stocks when you think markets look whippy, because then it means you don't have an actual attachment to the stocks. And that's basically how I'm looking at doing it. I have a list of probably about half my portfolio that I'm willing to cut the cord at any point. And that doesn't mean I'm just going to sell them all instantly, of course. It just means these are the ones I'm looking at. If we get a decent enough push, I'll start taking some profits from, and maybe even add it into the greener stocks on the other side that I'm looking at buying. Now, we haven't done a code word in a while, so if you're watching this far, the code word is Joey B, of course, for Joe Biden. Drop that down in the comments. Make sure that like button is turned blue if you haven't done it already. Thanks for the support, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Peace.